What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a saw and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode?
The poem Dream Deferred is written by Langston Hughes in the year 1951 at an age of 49. There are no apparent characters, as the poem does not use any pronominal like I, her, him, it, they, and so on, so it must be a poet I. The content of the poem describes how he's comparing the deferring dream to a raisin drying up in the sun. It could be a dream of freedom or the infamous American dream compared to how he feels about the dream that never became. The style and form of the poem is like a typical poem, with rhymes throughout the poem, but with no apparent pattern. And the form consists of one sentence in the start, two paragraphs, and two sentences in the end. The subject of the poem is how he's reflecting how the feeling of the dream he had for a long time is differing from his mind. The entirety of the poem is a comparison between several things. The context is that the poem is written at the time where black people began to get victories in Supreme Court and the time that Martin Luther King Jr. started as a leader of the civil rights movements.
Figurative language and effects. Simile is when directly comparing two things, using words like and as. There is a very heavy use of simile as Hughes reflected in this poem. Here are some examples. Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a saw, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? There's only one personification, which is an example of a thing or concept with human traits, like run or fester like a saw and then run. Connotations are either positive meaning or negative meaning within a word or phrase, and there is not many examples, but there is one that we could find. Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet. The meaning of the sentences. Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? He could be referring to the slaves that worked in the cotton fields back in the 1800s. Most of them worked in the sun without much water, and didn't really sleep. Without water you get dehydrated, and dry up like a raisin in the sun. Or it could mean to disappear, become weak, forgotten, neglected, left behind. Or fester like a saw and then run. He is comparing the feeling of dehydration to a bad wound. That could be because he doesn't know which is worse in a sense, and when someone or something is hurt, injured, or in agonizing pain. Does it stink like rotten meat? The smell of rotten meat is perhaps the worst smell that you are able to smell at the time. What he means is that it's either pest or cholera, rotten meat or festering salt. Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet. Something sweet but it's deceptive, like a sugar coating. Sag like heavy load. It is like carrying a burden, to succumb and give in. Or does it explode? It could mean that you become insane or that you get angry.